There's an old Norwegian proverb, and the proverb goes like this: an ounce of mother is worth a pound of clergy. And Amber reminds me of that one regularly, like daily. Now, happy Mother's Day. If you're a mom, if you're a grandma, if you're a great grandma, happy Mother's Day. There's so many things that you've done behind the scenes, so many babies that you've held, so many tears that you've wiped away, so many mouths and stomachs that you fed. Your job is among the most blessed and the most anointed. So on behalf of all of us, we're so grateful for you and the presence of our lives. I did come up with some things, or I heard some things that you won't hear a mother ever say. And this is from personal experience. It's from just observations. You're never going to hear a mother say, "Let me smell that shirt." Okay, yeah, we can go another week without washing it. How about this one? What's her name? Sarah. If Sarah's parents say it's okay, then it's okay with me. How about this one? The curfew. Oh, yeah, the curfew. It's just that 11 o'clock thing. It's just a general time frame, kind of a rule of thumb. It's not like we're running a prison here or anything. How about this one? I don't have a tissue with me. Just use your sleeve. And my personal favorite, don't worry about wearing those shorts in January, and you don't need your jacket either. The wind chill is going to eventually improve. Now, Mother's Day, it's interesting. For some people, this is one of the best days of the year for you. This is a day you've been looking forward to for a long time. Maybe you get to see someone you haven't seen in a while. Maybe you get to remember someone that was just incredibly special. Maybe it's a day that your family kind of sets aside, and moms are given this well-deserved special place. Some people, Mother's Day can be pretty ambivalent. It's another one of those kind of almost holidays, and it's kind of cool some of the time, but it's just another day. For some people, Mother's Day may be some very passionate, mixed feelings both ways. On one hand, there's maybe a person in your life that makes this day so special for you, and you're looking so forward to it. And maybe there's another relationship, that's just not quite as good, or it never was what God intended for it to be. And there's mixed feelings here. And we have to be aware that Mother's Day isn't a joyous time for everybody. Maybe there was a relationship that just never quite worked out. Maybe that relationship never bonded, and you look at other people and they're so happy on this day, and that's just not quite your day. I was at the donut store yesterday with Amber and Benjamin and David, and we had some friends that came in out of town for a wedding, and so we're just all eating donuts, and this young family from the church comes in, and we started talking to them for a little bit, and they got this little 2-year-old girl. She's got these great big beautiful eyes, and she's looking at the donuts, and the mom was talking to us, and she gave us the good news that she's going to have a baby. And I can almost bet that today is just such a special day for her, and such a special day for her family. At the same time, I realized that we've had 4 people in the last 4 weeks in this church that have said goodbye for the last time to their mother. I did 2 of these funerals, and I talked and I prayed with the other 2 people. Mother's Day today is a lot different than it was last year, isn't it? Friday night I did a wedding down the old market, and I remember when the couple was exchanging their rings, I had a view of the mother of the bride. She wiped a tear down her face as the couple in front of her exchanged rings. Her little baby girl, who's in her early 20s, is on a flight right now as we speak to Mexico on her honeymoon. Mother's Day is different. I know that some mothers have had to go through the extreme and excruciating pain of saying goodbye to the baby that they birthed. Mother's Day is not quite the same for them as it is the rest of us. I know that there's women, and there's probably women here, you've wanted to have a child. And for some reason, It just hasn't worked out yet. This day is a difficult day for you. And I want to acknowledge that. Mother's Day is different feelings for different people. Mother's Day is different for me this year than it was last year. I wasn't going to be here last week. Amber and I were going to run the half marathon together. And at 10:48 on Friday night, I got a phone call. On the other end of the phone was my mom. Mom told me, and she was almost apologetic. She says, "Craig, I'm not going to be able to come down tomorrow afternoon and watch the boys. You're going to have to find someone else." And I'm like, "Well, what's going on?" I was almost like annoyed with her that she was canceling at the last minute. And then I stopped being annoyed with the next sentence she said. She says, "Well, I'm on my way to the hospital." It turned out that she had a mild heart attack. She ended up at the regional medical center up in Sioux Falls, a couple hours from where she lives in northwest Iowa. Amber and Benjamin and David and I went up there on Saturday, and for the first time in my life, I saw my mom in a hospital bed. I even asked Mom, I said, "When's the last time you were in the hospital?" And she's like, "Well, when's the last time you were in the hospital?" And I said, it was 42 years ago. And she said, "It was 42 years ago for me too." I mean, she's 69 years old and hadn't been in the hospital since the day I was born. Probably 2 days after I was born. They don't kick them out the first day. But here she was, and she had to lay on her back for 6 straight hours because she had that angiogram thing. They're trying to figure out what was blocked and what was going on. And she was in such pain, and she was sweating. She was so uncomfortable. And it just, things like this, it just makes you cling on to life a little bit tighter and hold on to things a little bit more firmly. We stayed there over Saturday night and left late Sunday night, and she got home early during the next week. But Mother's Day is not the same for me this year as it was last year. Now, today in our church is also Commitment Sunday as well. And I was just thinking, is there a better day to commit to God? And is there a better day to commit to each other than Mother's Day? Is there a better metaphor in life that will teach us about commitment than being a mother? This is the day in our church where we commit to God. It's our day in our church where we commit to each other. Now, if you're new, if you're fairly new, you've probably got a little commitment card in your bulletin this morning, and I don't have the same expectation for you that I have for everybody else. I just want you to look at that card and realize there's many things on this card that are going to help you grow as a disciple and as a follower of Jesus Christ. For those of us who are members, for those of us who have pledged that we're going to support this church with our prayers and our presence and our gifts and our service and our witness, I just want to encourage you, and if you're not quite there yet, take a hard look at it this morning. If you're not quite ready this morning, bring it back next week. But I want to challenge you to do some things that you just haven't done up to this point. Because what I believe is that commitment leads to growth, and growth leads to rewards. When we commit to doing something that we haven't yet done, we are going to experience some kind of growth in our life. And when we experience growth in our life, there is going to be rewards that happen in life. Now, let me give you an example of commitment. Well over a century ago in South Wales, there was a young mom, and she was walking home from the marketplace to where she lived a few miles away, and this was typical back then. No automobiles, no scooters, even horses were a luxury, so she was walking. Now, it was in the winter, and Wales is usually fairly mild, but this day was one of those days when the weather just totally changed. And it went from being an average day to a blizzard. Now, as this mom continued to carry her child home, the blizzard became too much, and she could go no further. With the little baby, she collapsed. A few hours later, they sent out a rescue party to look for her, and they found her. They found her, and she wasn't wearing her coat. She wasn't wearing her hat. She wasn't wearing her scarves. They found her barely clothed body cuddling up and surrounding this little baby that she was carrying. The baby was covered by the coat. The baby was covered by the hat and covered by the scarf. They looked at the baby, and the baby was alive. The baby's name was David. His full name was David Lloyd George. He was the prime minister in the United Kingdom from 1916 to 1922. He was the leader of a time in this country where there was a critical need for a leader. It was World War I. His life was made possible by the commitment of a mother who loved him. Now, in the Gospel of Matthew, we're going to find the commitment of another mother. It's the commitment of the mother of James and John, the sons of Zebedee. Now, Benjamin read this verse a little bit ago, and we'll pick it up in verse 20. Then the mother of James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came to Jesus with her sons, and she knelt respectfully to ask a favor. Now, this is interesting. These kids are adults. It's like they couldn't get through to Jesus himself, so they brought their mommy with them to do this for him. And, she goes to Jesus and she makes this request. And Jesus even asked that. He says, "What's your request?" he asked. And then she replied, "In your kingdom, please let my two sons sit at the places of honor next to you, one on your right and one on your left." Now, in this text, theologians and pastors have always come down pretty hard on this woman. She is asking Jesus for Jesus to play favorites and to let her kids sit at the left and to the right of her. Now, we talk about her and we say, she's breaking the rules. She's not playing fair. Jesus, well, it's interesting here. Matthew doesn't even give her a name. It doesn't say that she's Sarah. It doesn't say that she's Mary. It doesn't say that she's whatever her name is. It just says that she's the mother of the boys. Matthew doesn't even bother to give her the name. Jesus replies to her in verse 22. He says, "But Jesus answered by saying, you don't know what you're asking. Are you able to drink from the bitter cup of suffering that I'm about to drink?" Now here's the deal. Preachers and theologians and others have come down pretty hard on this woman. I personally like her. In fact, I like her a lot because I think she represents a lot of us. I think she represents a lot of us because she never claimed to be a theologian. She never claimed to be a Bible scholar. And we're not even convinced that she was a follower of Jesus. Her sons were followers of Jesus. She was following her sons. She never claimed to be these things. But what she lacked for in her knowledge of the Bible, what she lacked in her practice of the gospel, she made up for in the love of her kids. She was a mother. She was a committed mother. Now, James and John, these guys were no spring chickens. They were young adults, probably in their 20s. And she teaches us an important lesson of life about being a parent. And that is that role never ends. Our role as a parent doesn't end when the kid is 18 and goes to college. Our role doesn't end when the kid is 22 or 23 and generally moves on to adult life. It doesn't end any time in between that. It's something that we always do. Now, in this text, what she truly wants is what she believes is best for her boys. Now, what she believes is best for her boys is what most of us as parents believe is best for our children. She wants two things. She wants the boys to find their place in the kingdom, and she wants them to experience closeness with Jesus. Now, we all want that. We want that for ourselves. We want that for our kids. We want that for people that we love and people that we're committed to. If our life, if we're doing the things that we're passionate about, if we're doing the things that we are good at, if we're doing the things that we have some life experience at doing, if we're doing the things that God has gifted us to do, and we can do these things, and these things intersect with where the world's deepest need is, then we're going to have joy and contentment in our life. And this is what this woman is asking Jesus to give her sons, a place in the kingdom where they can make a difference, where they can both be blessed and where they can be a blessing. Now, she's also asking that they experience closeness to Jesus. She's saying, I want John right here, and I want James right here. I want my boys to be close to you. Now, if I could wish one thing for my boys, it's not prosperity. It's not an easy life. It's not happiness as the world knows happiness. If I could have anything for my two boys, it would be closeness to God. through Jesus Christ, empowered by the Holy Spirit. This woman is asking for the same things that many of us who are parents would ask for our kids. Now, what is interesting in this text is that Jesus doesn't deny her. There's nowhere in the text that Benjamin read this morning that Jesus says no. In verse 27, we'll pick it up. Jesus says, "Whoever wants to be a leader among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first among you must become your slave. For even the Son of Man," this is Jesus, "came not to be served, but to serve others, and to give his life as a ransom for many." So what Jesus is saying here is if you want to be a leader, guess what? You got to be committed. You're not ever going to be a leader unless you're committed to something. Now, the next step is if you want to be first, then you have to be really committed. And if you want to be like Jesus, and we are all created in the image of God, and God's desire is that we be restored into the image of God. So if we want to be like Jesus, then we have to be able to commit our lives. Now, I really believe that commitment in life leads to growth. I don't think that we can experience growth without commitment. I just don't think that growth works that way. And I believe that growth then will lead to rewards. Now, as you looked at those commitment cards when you got them in the mail this week, or maybe you saw them for the first time this morning, sometimes we get a little bit afraid when it comes to committing. Because we're saying yes to some things, it means that we're going to have to say no to some other things. Now, commitment, though, it's we got to do it. If you want to grow in any area of life, you got to be committed to it. Let's talk about soccer for a little bit. I'll give you an example. My son Benjamin, who was up here reading the Bible a little bit ago, he has played soccer for 4 seasons now, which means that he's played like 4 years, which means he's played 8 seasons. And up to this point, he has never scored a goal. Last year, you'll remember I told you a story how he was standing about 10 yards in front of the goal, and he kicked the ball as hard as he could, and it just missed by like about 6 inches. You all were in tears, and you were so sad, and you wanted this little guy to score the game or to score the goal. And we played a lot of games this year, and he hasn't scored yet. We were playing Tuesday night at Elkhorn. We were ahead by 1 point, and Benjamin, I took him out. He was playing defense, and this kid that was playing midfield got a side ache and waves his hand. He wants to come out, so I put Benjamin in for him. And a few minutes later, Benjamin found himself right in front of the goal. And this kid from the side made this brilliant pass to him, and I was like, "Kick the ball!" And like he takes this big swing and he kicks the ball, and the ball rolls right past the goalie, and he scores a goal. Now I saw Amber over there. She's, "Yeah, he scored," and his old coach was sitting next to Amber. They're giving each other high fives, and I sent this other kid, Ben. I said, "Go and get Ben out of the game." So Benjamin comes over and he's like, "Why do you take me out?" And I said, "I just wanted to hug you and kiss you. You scored a goal." And now here's the deal. He's not the fastest player out there. He's not the best soccer player out there. There's 4 years, 8 seasons that he's played that he hasn't scored. Tuesday night he scored that first goal, and the reward happened because of growth. He's a lot better soccer player than when he started 4 years ago. And the growth only happened because of commitment. There's rarely a time he misses a practice. There's rarely a time he doesn't give it his best effort. Now, life is going to be that way. Now, the objection might be this. We try, and we keep trying. Maybe I started to read the Bible the first of the year. And, I made it for a month, and nothing really happened, so I just kind of got away from it. Or I, tried a small group for 6 weeks, and, it just didn't fit our schedules, and it couldn't be a priority, and, nothing really worked. Or I tried praying, and I prayed hard for 6 weeks. I prayed hard for a couple months, and I really tried to listen. I really tried to seek God's will, and then nothing was happening, so I just kind of got away with it, or I got away from it. That's an objection that we may have to commitment, is we've tried it before, and it didn't quite work. Sometimes commitment is going to immediately lead to growth, and it's going to immediately lead to rewards. There may be someone that commits something this week. Maybe you commit to being a greeter or being on the setup and teardown team when you come here next week, and we do that, and all of a sudden you think, that was really cool. I didn't know if I could do that, but I did it. I met some great people, and there was some growth there. And maybe you welcomed a stranger at the door, and you say, I can see where my small thing that I did welcomed a stranger and made me part of God's kingdom. So there's rewards that come immediately. And sometimes we're like that little kid that plays soccer. We have to keep on committing and keep on committing and have a little bit of growth here and there. Then eventually there's going to be a reward. And the reward is that God will use us as a blessing in someone else's life, and God will bless us as we're a blessing to others. Now, in this equation of commitment to growth to rewards, there's only one part of this equation that we can control. We don't control the rewards. We don't control the growth. The only thing that we can control is the commitment part. The rest of it's going to be God's timing. All we can do is stay committed. All we can do is patiently wait for God to do something in us and through us. It's like faith. It's taking a step where we're trying to go somewhere we've never been before. Let me give you a couple examples. We've had a few women from our church yesterday. They went to a prison here in Nebraska, and they did some prison ministry yesterday. Now, this was something that they were committed to. And the women that they were working with yesterday, these are women who have sold drugs. These are women who have neglected children. These are women who maybe even have killed people before. These are women who I believe, and I believe as well that you believe, desperately need the gospel of Jesus Christ. Now, the women went to the prison. I haven't really talked to them, but I've been to a prison before, and I know how this works. I can guarantee that their commitment led to growth. I can guarantee that they did things yesterday that helped them grow as a person. And I can also guarantee that there was probably some results that they experienced. When I did prison ministry for the guys, the biggest issue that the men dealt with? It wasn't guilt and shame from what they've done. The biggest issue that they dealt with was being away from their kids. Can you imagine being locked behind bars? Hearing second or third hand stories of how your kids are doing from miles and miles away. Now, this is Mother's Day weekend. These women at this facility were experiencing the pain from being away from their girls and being away from their boys. Commitment leads to growth. Growth leads to results. Results were, and when they left the prison yesterday and that final steel door shut behind them for the last time, they can know that they've planted seeds. They can know that there's been tears of repentance and reconciliation and forgiveness that have been cried. Last week we had the dozens of runners that ran the half marathon and the marathon. It's the same formula. Commitment leads to growth. Growth leads to results. I can guarantee you, everyone that started for the first time, they ran a few minutes, and all of a sudden their heart and their lungs said, "That's enough. You shall go no further." Then they did it a second time and a third time, and every time they got a little bit better. And last Sunday, everyone who started finished either the half marathon or the marathon. Growth, our commitment led to growth. Growth led to result. And the result was they finished. They got a medal around their neck. And they got to say that they did something that 6 months before or a year before they were just unable to do.
Come and listen. Come to the water's edge, are you who know and fear the Lord? Come and listen. Come to the water's edge, are you who are thirsty?